Hello everybody, this is Alberto Kennedy, aka Grimoire. Today's video is going to be talking about magic, the different types of magic that exist, the different types of magic that people work, or practitioners of magic work. What are they? Well, here they are. The first thing I want to clear up is there is this idea that there is white magic and black magic. For beginners and people out who don't practice magic, that type of concept works for them. But in reality, white magic can be abused, turning it into black magic. Black magic is just to denote the intent. Black magic, white magic. It's the intent behind the energies being worked with that gives it that color code, that color designation, if you will. But magic is magic. Period. End of story. If it's white magic, it's because they're doing good stuff with the magic. If they are doing black magic, it's because they're doing bad stuff with the magic. But magic is magic. Kind of like the gun theory. Is the gun evil that's mowing down kids in school? Or is it people using guns mowing down kids in school? So, is it the gun or is it the person and the intent? It's that whole situation with magic. Magic has no true color designation. That's just the way it is in terms of magic. Now, the types of magic. First off, I want to begin with a higher tier of magic. The higher tier of magic is sorcery, wizardry. Sorcery or wizardry. A wizard is a sorcerer is a wizard. Okay, what are they? Well, and I have my notes. Let's see. Sorcery is working with or mastering. Sorcery is the working with or the mastering of multidimensional and multi-universal energies and entities in the pursuit of becoming more than human and to outgrow the human experience and or condition. In this pursuit, sorcerers integrate their consciousness with alien or non-human consciousness. Now, when I use the term alien, I don't actually mean aliens. I mean a consciousness that is not terrestrial born, something that's a higher tier of entity, alien or foreign consciousness, to become something more powerful and entirely different. They become avatars, the sorcerer, for beings not of this universe, and harness ancient power for whatever end they deem fit. Okay, so a sorcerer is someone that works magic, but the essence of the magic that they're working is an energy that predates the universe. They're using and working with entities and energies that are not terrestrial. For example, a witch would work with the four elements: air, earth, water, fire. Okay. Well, a sorcerer could totally work with those elements, but their elemental tier, if you will, that they're working with is along the lines of time, space, distance, matter, light, dark, death, life. And those are a sorcerer's elemental table that they work with, as opposed to a witch who works with air, earth, water, fire. Okay. So keep in mind, within the elemental table of a sorcerer that I just noted, time, space, distance, matter, light, dark, death, life, there are dimensions, there are entities, and there are energies inherent in all of those universal elements that they work with. So sorcery is much more convoluted And it's much more complex. I don't like the word convoluted. I tend to use that a lot. But yeah, much more complex. And there's very few sorcerers nowadays. Sorcerers are secretive, so who knows? Maybe there's a lot of them. They just, know how to keep their mouth closed. Something I know nothing about. Okay. All right, so let's continue. The elemental magics. Elemental magics. I love these. It's fire. It's a air, earth, water, fire. And this is natural magics. Some would say green magics when you do the color coordination or color designation. Sometimes I close my eyes when I'm working with my spirits because they jump in and jump out, and they want to give information to you. So this is it. Air magic is when you can affect the weather. You work with the beings or the element of air itself. Earth, when you work with rocks, crystals, stones for healing, for many things, herbs, for healing. Water is great to cleanse. Water also has an electrical charge to it, so it does. It's a great conductor, and it also has energy of its own. Fire. I personally work with fire. Le petit rituel de feu, the small ritual of fire, or fire is good for cleansing. Fire is not destructive, but sometimes it gets a bad rap. Fire destruction, but also it's the hearth. It warms. It promotes life. Doesn't necessarily just take it away. All of these elements, in their most extreme incarnations, can be destructive. So let's be fair. These elements come from nature, and nature is a powerful teacher. And nature in of itself is alive, just like these elements have life to them, and they are dimensions in of themselves. There's many dimensions within these elements. So elemental magics on that front, you working with the elements is very powerful. Now, there is another elemental magic I want to touch base on. Another form of elemental magic is when you are actually working with elementals. Beings that predate the human species, that existed on Earth when the Earth was itself forming. These beings were not corporeal. They weren't physical. They were spiritual. They were ethereal, if you will. And they, as the Earth was forming, as the Earth was developing, into these elements, these beings bonded with these elements. Now, ancient healers, shamans, witches, sorcerers, and the like worked with these elementals, these beings. And these beings you can trace back to most indigenous magical traditions. The natives have their elementals that they work with, or that their ancestors worked with. These elementals walked side by side when we were developing, when we were growing. Some of them were actually very helpful to us in our early days of our evolution. Some didn't really care for us, Elementals range from culture to culture. For example, the natives of Native America, Native Americans, different tribes have names for their elementals that they interfaced with in their history. The Mesoamerican Indians, Mexican people, or the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Olmecs, the Chichimecs, of which I am a Chichimec. I am Afro-Indigenous. I did my Ancestry.com. I have a lot of Chichimec Indian genetic markers. The Aztecs worked with their gods called the Teotli. The Aztec gods were elementals. The African gods, elementals. All gods of ancient man were elementals. Okay. And working with them was similar to what a sorcerer would do in terms of you would work with them, they would give you favors, you would give them offerings. Sometimes ancient man used to give them sacrifices. That happened a lot in all religions. I don't want to hear any these Christian people saying, "Oh, those barbarians." You used to. Wasn't one of them people in the Bible trying to kill their son? Stop playing games. But anyways, sacrifice was part of the ancient magic, but I'll go into that in a little later. So elementals some of them were actually positive and weren't requiring sacrifices and were actually helping us. So elemental magic is working with elementals as well. The other one is, let's see, looking at my notes. Ancestor magic. Ancestor magic is working with your ancestors. And communicating with them. Ancestor magic would also be connected with death magic. Death magic would be necromancy. Invoking the dead, working with the dead. Yeah, so that would be ancestor magic, death magic, necromancy. Okay. Angelic magic. Angelic magic is when you're working with angels, invocation of angels. What is angelic magic would be like the Jewish mystic tradition of the Kabbalah. Angelology, working with angels, knowing angels, communing and communicating with angels. And along the angelic magics, there would be demon magics or demonology, if you will, because what are demons? Fallen angels. Unless you go into the egregore theory, which I won't talk about here, but that's a relevant theory, and I suggest you guys Google that and look it up. Then there is avatar magic, which is basically sorcery. So I covered that. Well, let me just say this about avatar magic. Avatar magic, yes, it is sorcery, working with multidimensional energies and entities, higher tier entities, entities that have never been in human form, entities that are inhuman, in the sense that they have never been human. They've never been incarnate. They use, in paranormal genre, they use the term inhuman to describe a demon. But, again, to be fair, there are other entities that are not demonic, but still have never been human. Not everything is demonic. Not everything is freaking evil. Just saying. But that would be avatar magic. And the reason why that's important is because when you connect with an entity, when you are working invocations or conjurings, it would behoove the practitioner to do research and understand who they are invoking, who they are calling, who they are working with. Because if you don't, that's just stupid. You're not going to walk down, think of this. You're going to walk down the street late at night and you live at least a couple of miles away and somebody says, "Hey, jump in. I'll give you a ride to wherever you're going." Okay. Really? No, you would not do that. Not if you have any sense. Well, the same thing is with magic. You're not going to work with just an entity because you've heard good things. No, you don't know this entity. You don't know the people that told you good things about this entity. Do your own research. The best magic to start off with, if you're going to get into the magical realm, is working with the elemental magics. And what I mean by elemental magics, don't work with no elementals. Work with the elements themselves. Air, earth, water, fire. Start off with that. And they'll guide you. Okay, now, avatar magics. Okay, this one is a bit messy. Blood magics. Blood magics is talking about blood. It's in the name. Blood, but also sacrifice. Okay? Blood magics tend to mark you when you work these magics. And what I mean by mark you, it doesn't mean that it's anything biblical, wrong, said, you're going to have. No, no, no. I'm saying that marks you in the sense that any person that practices magic, a natural witch, if you will, a natural witch, will always know when somebody has engaged in blood magics because there's an energy signature. You open doors that are not readily available to those who do not practice blood magic or have not practiced blood magic. You can do a blood magic ritual or spell once, and you've opened doors. You're in another level because you crossed a line, you know. So blood magic is something that only natural practitioners should do, and usually blood magics are more frequent in indigenous religions like Vaudun, Voodoo, Santeria, Santuario, Palo Santo, Candomblé, and other much more clandestine magical traditions. Blood magics always involve sacrifice or blood. You can do magics that are blood magics with your own blood, but those are tricky, and you're binding yourself to that work. So if that work is botched or is countered by something else or someone else, that's your ass. So blood magics, there's always a catch. There's always a catch. With magic, there always is. You need to know what you're doing. Chaos magic. There's two types. There's chaos magic, and this chaos magic, type 1 chaos magic, is basically an eclectic approach to magic. And what do I mean by an eclectic approach? I mean where you combine different traditions, different principles from different traditions. You combine different principles, different spells, different ideas, concepts, different practices. It's an amalgam of many different magical traditions tailored to the individual practitioner. And so, like, for example, I know a friend of mine who likes to work Heka, which is Kemetic magic, ancient Egyptian magic. But they'll introduce principles of shamanism. Then they'll their sympathetic rituals or their sympathetic magic or their rituals or symbolic acts that they employ in the summoning of power, they might go about it in a Wiccan type of way. So that's an eclectic practitioner. That's a form of chaos magic where it's an amalgam of different principles and practices, of different traditions. Now, type 2 chaos magic is a little darker. It's working with destructive, anti-life, anti-evolution energies and entities that are bent on oblivion. There's some energies and entities that do not like the human species. We're an affront to their archaic, ancient sensibility. They will work with the practitioner while eating the practitioner. And what I mean by eating is that their very presence and the energy is toxic. They're undoing you from the inside out. So they'll give you power. Oh, yes, do it. Run, baby. Go ahead. Yeah. But they're devouring you from the inside out because they don't like you. Why would they fucking help you? Hello? Yeah. But there's people that love working with those energies for as long as they can. I don't know. Go figure. This is the first part of the different types of magic that are out there. I will be making my video part 2 soon. I'm just trying to bring light to dark places, and I'm thinking for the beginner, they should know what's out there in terms of types of magic. And I don't think I've seen a video discussing that, so I wanted to share it from my perspective since I am a practitioner. Okay, part 2 coming soon. Bye.